Good morning, everybody. Happy hump day. So we are jumping right into law number 22 of the 48 Laws of Power. And that is, use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you are weaker, never fight for honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror, time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting and defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender a tool of power. I love that. I love it because it's just one example of what reframing can do for you. Taking what is otherwise a self-defeating or frustrating situation and making it a positive. So I absolutely love it. This one does actually have a reversal, so I will read that to you. I'm sure you're excited because it's not just, oh, there's no reversal of this. Cool. No, there is. The point of surrendering is to save your hide for a later date when you can reassert yourself. It is precisely to avoid martyrdom that one surrenders. But there are times when the enemy will not relent and martyrdom seems the only way out. Furthermore, if you are willing to die, others may gain power and inspiration from your example. Yet martyrdom, surrender's reversal, is a messy, inexact tactic and is as violent as the aggression it combats. For every famous martyr, there are thousands more who have inspired neither a religion nor a rebellion, so that if martyrdom does sometimes grant a certain power, it does so unpredictably. More important, you will not be around to enjoy that power, such as it is. And there is finally something selfish and arrogant about martyrs, as if they felt their followers were less important than their own glory. When power deserts you, it is best to ignore this law's reversal. Leave martyrdom alone, the pendulum will swing back your way eventually, and you should stay alive to see it. Something he does wonderfully in this book is not just sit there and pontificate random sayings, but he actually goes and provides historical context for all of these statements as well. The crux of it is, if you're outmatched, it's better to play the long game. Everybody wants to be a martyr without really thinking it through. Whenever you talk about strategy and playing the long game, a lot of people are just like, "Oh, I'm just blunt. I'm just direct. I don't have time for that." Well, then you're just prepared to be a martyr that does fucking fuck all for your cause. It's better to take the beating, but sour their victory so bad. Don't give them the satisfaction of being able to beat you down, and yet don't fight them either, because you're only going to weaken yourself. You're going to weaken your case. So by, quote, surrendering, you actually buy yourself time and potentially leverage to come at this a different way. And again, like we talked about yesterday, you can't not have enemies in this world. It's just going to happen. You're either in control of the enemies you have, or you just accept whatever's handed to you. Personally, I prefer to control who my enemies are as much as possible. Obviously, there's some that just don't like me, and that is the way it is. I don't care. You don't write my paychecks, and I sleep just fine at night without it, aside from chronic back pain, but that's a different story. But when you're in a situation that you can't win, sometimes your victory lies in souring theirs. And I know that sounds very cutthroat. Well, welcome to life. If you haven't noticed, it's a little cutthroat out here. But how does this benefit us in EMS? Well, when going up against, say, the good old boy system, cool. You can't just walk in and say, "Fuck you guys, you're a bunch of losers." I mean, sure, I will basically insinuate that on here, but as far as it's your actual service where you actually are, that's not the way to go about it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get a target on your back, you're going to be labeled a difficult employee, and sometime in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to end up getting fired, if not sooner. That's just how it goes. And when you find that people are just suddenly a problem and being labeled as a problem child, why don't you pay attention to what's really going on? Sometimes they are, but not always. And this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. You need to be a little more strategic with this. And so use surrender to your advantage. There's so many different scenarios and cases we could unpack with this, but I would say that at the end of the day, if you lose a particular battle, it's a confrontation with an authoritarian supervisor or whatever the case may be. You're just not making headway. Okay, cool. Make it look like you've given up. And just roll over, and you can give them initially a sense of, oh, cool. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't fun. I don't like this. What the fuck? And then you're just around to be a thorn in their side, because if you don't do anything to get fired, then that gives you a lot of leeway to start tactically addressing problems. Obviously, again, I'm not advocating for being unethical, dishonest, whatever the case may be. All I'm saying is being strategic. If you have somebody who obviously has a problem with you, if they're in a position of authority, going head to head with them is not always going to work. If you do, you need to be prepared for a total smackdown. If you're not prepared for a total smackdown, don't do it. Don't mess with it. Have I done that before? Yes, I have. And I have never suffered as a result of it. It's usually been other people that are getting ass chewings, not me. So take that for what it is. But at the end of the day, you need to choose your battles. You need to pick carefully. This is not this war for the culture. Really, it's a war for the heart and soul of EMS. Is not going to be won in a day, and unfortunately, it's not going to be won by direct conflict. I hope that what Michelle and I are putting out to you guys stirs up that drive for making things better. But when doing that, you need to take some time to sit back, make them think you're playing checkers when you're actually playing chess. I know that analogy's gotten a little overused lately, but I think it's still a good analogy. Make them think that they've won, when in reality, you're just laying up for the perfect checkmate. To put it in more crass terms, as an old assistant supervisor of mine once said, let them step on their own dick. Because if you make your opponent think that they've won, you are in the perfect position to set a trap for them. Because they're going to be confident, they're going to be cocky, they're going to think they got you. And then they realize that you've actually got them. Does that sound a little manipulative and vindictive? Maybe. But again, we're in a world that is controversial. Nobody plays by the rules. Everybody ultimately plays for their own well-being, their own self-interest. So use that. Use that to do good things. That's healthy. That is a good outcome for this. Use that power wisely, my young Padawan. And you actually gain a lot more respect from people when you pick your battles, and when you demonstrate that you know when to stop. You gain a lot of respect from people, which is also part of the surrender tactic, because if you can get your enemies to be lulled into this appreciation for you, or at least a ceasefire for you, with you, cool, then you've won. Because you can continue to be strategic and rally more people together, build your case, and proceed with whatever you want to call it, an operation against abusive power, whatever cheesy term you want to use for it. You can actually start playing that game well, because life's a game. You need to know the rules in order to circumvent them. So these laws of power, good, bad, ugly, otherwise, are a pretty universal, widespread playbook, but it's also if you will, a cheat code to dealing with the people that are being maliciously manipulative and are actively working against the best interest of those in the field, of the people that they serve, really is what it comes down to. So learn how to play. Learn how to play the game better than them. And I am not a jiu-jitsu guy. I would love to. I'm trying to get into the shape where that's actually a little more practical, and financially get in shape to be able to do that too. But what do you hear a lot of jujitsu guys do? They will basically fake a submission. They will let their opponent think that they're in charge and then do a complete flip on them, or whatever the techniques are. And suddenly that person is now being submitted. Well, that's how this works too. Sometimes you have to play submission before you can force submission. Now, and I would throw in a personal caveat to this, that what is the end goal of all of this? What is the end goal of everything I'm saying, everything that I'm advocating for? It is not that we all become our own little dictators, because that's no better than what we already have. Well, I'm about to knock my plane over. That is no different than what we already have now. What I'm advocating for is using these strategies, using these tools to save our industry, to save the culture of our industry, and actually do some good with it. That's what I'm pushing for. I don't give a shit about being the top dog. I don't give a fuck. I have a way bigger things going on in life than to worry about that. But if you take the extra time to be strategic and to think how you can outwit, basically, the people that are abusing power, then life gets a whole lot more interesting. So, if you learned something, good. Share it with your friends. Go read the book. It's a wonderful read. If you were offended, well, I really can't help you there. Put a helmet on. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.